People's Liberation Army has followed the party's command, responded rapidly upon orders, and played an important role and made outstanding contributions to the fight against the epidemic. Facts have proved once again that the People's Army is always a heroic army that the party and the people can fully trust.
And for the first time, Twitter has added a fact-check label to President Trump's tweets. The president made some unsubstantiated claims about mail-in voting, and Twitter added links reading, quote, "Get the facts about mail-in ballots." The president responded with a tweet saying, "Twitter is completely stifling free speech, and I, as president, will not allow it to happen." Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Leanne Gerrans. This is Bloomberg Caroline.
Thank you so much, Leanne Gerrans with the World News. Now, coming up next on Bloomberg Daybreak Europe, we're going to be talking about the fixed income markets, what is going on in Europe. We are joined by Stephen Major, who is the Global Head of Fixed Income Research at HSBC, talking about inflation. When does it come? I suppose the big question. How big a risk is deflation for Europe and the UK? We're going to talk about negative rates too with our guest next, Stephen Major from HSBC. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man. You, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, with early diagnosis, pre-diabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
No company wants to be involved in an international dispute. But when disagreements arise, you need expertise at your side. Take a closer look at ICDR, the International Center for Dispute Resolution. Backed by the longevity and strength of the American Arbitration Association, the ICDR is the world's leading provider of cross-border dispute resolution services, handling more cases than any other institution. Find out why global expertise matters. Visit ICDR.org.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
I'm Steve Meyer, President of SEI's Investment Manager Services. At SEI, we understand the emerging forces that will define success for asset managers and what firms will need to compete tomorrow. That's why we continually optimize SEI's global operating platform. If your business requires greater agility, our advanced technology, integrated best-in-class systems, and multi-asset expertise can be your catalyst for business transformation.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constant.
Get your MLB fix with these great podcasts on TuneIn. Fill your 7th inning stretch with the Ringer MLB Show.
I just can't get over it. It's like, oh, well, Jeter Downs. Didn't realize he was a top. Like, my dad is drinking the Kool-Aid on this. He's like,
of course.
Mookie was going to leave. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't know that.
Slide into second with the Starting 9 podcast.
Nolan Arenado slides right into the top spot for a favorite baseball player. Active in the league right now. It is a pleasure to be sitting next to you, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This is we've been waiting a long time for this. We actually, in terms of like active
Round the Bases with the Statcast podcast.
Ways of going about it. I picked third, so in some ways it made it easier for me. Mike, just to go over the first couple of picks. Mike took Barry Bonds, who I think was kind of the obvious guy to take number one. Not only
catch these and more MLB podcasts right here on TuneIn. Ready for a one-of-a-kind look at the NFL? On the PFF NFL podcast, Steve Palazzolo and Sam Munson interpret the unique stats of Pro Football Focus to analyze the league, uncover secret superstars, and discuss which teams to watch out for in the next Super Bowl.
Let's talk some football. Let's do it, Steve. All sorts of stuff. We're going to do most improved defenses around the NFL. Solomon Wilcots, our very own. He went into some detail over at PFF.com. Most improved defenses around the
Search PFF NFL on TuneIn to listen. With the NHL season temporarily on ice, now is a good time to catch up on past games.
Bergeron, he scores!
With game replay on TuneIn, you can listen to every power play, slapshot, and goal of the 2019-2020 season so far.
Suter to Cunnin to Fiala, he scores!
And for a limited time, it's free for hockey fans everywhere. Search classic game replays to start listening.
Wondering what to play next? Want to know what other TuneIn listeners are listening to right now? Head to the trending section under Browse to explore the most popular stations and podcasts on TuneIn today. Millions of listeners like you can't be wrong.
Where do sports, culture, and basketball nostalgia collide? On their podcast, Knuckleheads, NBA veterans Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles sit down with athletes, musicians, and entertainers to get brutally honest, totally unguarded conversations about everything, from current events to untold stories from the golden era of sports.
Kill O'Neal. You know that, right? I tried to tip dunk all the free throw line one time.
Search Knuckleheads on TuneIn to listen.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
Stay on top of everything happening in the pro wrestling universe with the Body Slamming podcasts on TuneIn. For passionate recaps of the most recent SmackDown to a pro wrestler's perspective on life and culture at large, search sports and scroll down to the world of wrestling to listen.
Let's be honest, we all spend too much of our day on social media. But at least you can spend your endless scroll time to discover new things on TuneIn. Follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to always be in the know about the best new stuff streaming in the app. From breaking news stories and live sporting events.
Yeah, but it's unique times. I think there's unique circumstances, and we're trying
to standout stations and podcasts. Stay in touch with TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
It's headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on QuickTake by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Good morning, I'm Caroline Hebke here in London with this Bloomberg Radio Business Flash. So in the markets, investors seem to be focused on the global recovery story today, not so much the clash over Hong Kong, the threat of US sanctions on Chinese officials. European equities up by 0.6%. Xetra gains 1.2% along with the FTSE 100. The most staggering gains are seen perhaps in the travel and tourism industry. TUI jumps 23%, Germany joining Spain in saying that it will open up tourism from July. So that's helped TUI as we see European equities gain for a second day in a row. Also a big gainer this morning, Renault up 8% with France offering some 8 billion euros total to prop up the auto industry in France. US futures also looking very positive as we are, 3 days of gains straight in Europe. US futures at the moment up by 0.9% on the S&P 500. The only sort of dark spot really was the Hang Seng down by 0.3%, so bearing the brunt of the anti-Beijing protests, the concerns there overnight in Asia. As for the bond markets this morning, Italian BTPs in focus because yesterday, of course, we saw the spread over bunds fall below 200 basis points for the first time since the middle of April. So there you see the power of the ECB. At the moment, we trade at 153 for Italian BTPs, negative 44 basis points for German bund yields, and US 10-year Treasury yields at 68 basis points. As for the FX space, a brief look there, up 0.1% for the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index. The euro is weak at 0.1%, trading currently at 1.0968, as we see a 1% drop for WTI WTI crude futures and 0.2% lower for gold. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Leanne Gerrans with more on what's going on around the world. Good morning.
Good morning, Caroline, and thank you. The US is considering a range of sanctions to punish China's crackdown on Hong Kong. Sources tell us options on the table include asset freezes or visa restrictions on Chinese officials. President Donald Trump believes Hong Kong may lose its status as Asia's financial hub if the government proceeds with its new national security law. Now, here in the UK, women are more likely to have quit, lost their job, or been furloughed since the start of the lockdown. Research by the Institute for Fiscal Studies has also found mothers are taking on more childcare and housework responsibilities than fathers. It's warning of a potential increase in the gender pay gap once COVID-19 measures are indeed lifting. And finally, it's a defining moment for Elon Musk and SpaceX. If all goes well, a SpaceX rocket will launch this afternoon from Cape Canaveral, carrying 2 NASA astronauts. It'll be the first time humans have ever ridden into space aboard a commercial spacecraft. The capsule will dock with the International Space Station 19 hours later. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Leanne Gerrans. This is Bloomberg Matt.
Leanne, thanks very much. That is very cool. Looking forward to that launch. I believe, 9 p.m. UK time tonight?
I believe it is too, Matt. I don't know the exact times, but I think it is. And some people have been wondering if they can see it fly over the US. I've seen lots of people tweeting that. Will we be able to see it go over our heads? So there'll be lots of stargazers out there.
Have you heard an answer? Will Nathan Hager be able to see?
It depends on conditions. Everything depends on weather conditions.
I see.
I like that. That's a good general answer.
All right, so if it's a clear night, Nathan Hager, let's bring him in right now. He is hanging out on the banks of the Chesapeake Bay.
You know it.
Nathan, if it's clear, spring. I guess it's not night for you. It'll be, 5?
Yeah, it's going to be something like 4:30, 4:40 in the afternoon, something like that, I think. Hopefully the weather holds up for that. I mean, there's been some talk that there could be thunderstorms today. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but,
well, there's
very little that can get me from not being excited about the first private launch of astronauts into space.
Yeah, I want to tune in, too. It's going to be 10 p.m. for me, which is bedtime, but I think I will stay up a little later. The weather is perfect for your radio program.
That's true. And we are looking poised for another strong open on Wall Street this morning, Matt, with the rate of infection slowing. Some of the hardest hit hotspots like New York and California laying out their plans to reopen. But we have seen how vulnerable this reopen rally can be with the prospect of new sanctions on China sparking that late day sell-off yesterday. We're going to have details on what's on the table, and we'll look at where markets go from here with Matt Maley of Miller Tabak. He's with us this morning. And we're also going to look at the potential risk of a new wave of infection as economies reopen with Professor Andy Pekosh of the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health making his weekly visit to the program with me and Karen Moscow. So hope you'll join us for it here on Bloomberg Daybreak Americas. T-minus 8 minutes, Matt.
Very cool. Matt Maley from the I don't want to say infamous, but from the Salomon Brothers. He worked at Salomon Brothers back in the Liar's Poker days.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty awesome. And I love how he strives to separate himself from consensus. He has a great quote. It's better to fail at originality than to succeed in imitation.
Words to live by.
Excellent. Looking forward to hearing from him on your program. If you're tuned in on Sirius XM channel 119, you'll hear from Nathan Hager and Karen Moscow and Matt Maley from Miller Tabak. If you're listening on London DAB Digital in the city, you'll hear Bloomberg Surveillance with Francine Lacroix and Tom Keene.
Right, I'm inspired to reach high, to reach for the stars with our next guest, Stephen Major, who's Global Head of Fixed Income Research at HSBC. Great to have you with us, Stephen. I want to talk a bit about the impact of the coronavirus on the euro area. probably somewhere between the ECB's medium and severe scenarios. That's what Christine Lagarde has said this morning, speaking in Frankfurt. And it comes, of course, as the Commission is preparing to present its coronavirus fund proposal later today. So the debate really about basically how to help and how much to help the pandemic hit European countries. What do you think is going to be the result of that, and is it going to fundamentally, help in terms of the economic recovery story that we're looking at the moment?
Yeah, so Madame Lagarde's comments were quite interesting this morning. One of the things she also said was it's very likely that the mild scenario is out of date. So when she said we're probably somewhere between mild and severe, that means we're probably at severe at a minimum. My suspicion is that the ECB has been racing to catch up with the reality of what's happened. And I don't mean to be critical, because it's very difficult for anyone to judge what's happening in such unprecedented circumstances. As regards the PEP, then, yeah, sure, they're going to do more. It's fairly open-ended. I think the idea that they stop has quickly gone out of the window, so they're going to add to it. They're not going to stop the reinvestment. It's got a great deal of flexibility. It's not constrained like the PSPP, for example. So that keeps things going. But in the background, the big one is what's happening at the European Commission. I'm talking here about the stability bonds or the recovery fund, and this is a game changer. It's the steps that matter. It's a real game changer, because it's a step towards debt mutualization. And that's the kind of thing that the GCC in Germany didn't like. But it's the kind of thing that has to happen. Because if it doesn't happen in this controlled fashion, it's kind of happening anyway through the ECB's balance sheet over time. So to me, that's the big story. It's what's happening at the government level.
Stephen, everyone knows what we mean now when we say it could be a Hamilton moment because of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah. But I prefer the Ron Chernow tome on Alexander Hamilton. Could this be the beginning of a European takeover by Brussels?
Well, I believe that there are steps in that direction. Yes, Matt. It would be interesting to do a study of how many articles have been published on Bloomberg and elsewhere which focus on the risks of default or breakup compared to the number of articles on further deepening and steps towards fiscal union debt mutualization. Because you probably know the answer. I guess it's 10 to 1. So if people are all focusing on one thing at the same time, then the market can be out of balance. And it's no coincidence that Italian BTPs are doing quite well. Yeah. And the spread is slowly grinding in. It's also no coincidence that German bond yields have not gone any lower. They seem to have established a floor in the last few months. If you think about the excitement of the last, if you want to call it anything, excitement in bond markets in the last few months, obviously big rally in the US and spreads went out and they came back in. But the bonds have been doing nothing. I mean the bond market is actually cheapening up a bit. So what matters is in the background, is that the probability of steps towards debt mutualization has increased. And markets are all about pricing probabilities. And so you put a weight on a scenario, and that weighting on the mutualization scenario is going up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're 153 for Italian BTPs. They moved significantly yesterday. The spread narrowing. Stephen Major, thank you so much for joining us, Global Head of Fixed Income Research at HSBC. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak Europe. This is Bloomberg.
This is a message from the government. There is new guidance to help businesses and employees who cannot work from home be COVID-19 secure at work. The advice will help you conduct a risk assessment, put social distancing measures in place, improve hygiene and cleaning in the workplace, and look after the well-being of your employees. Every workplace is different. Use the guidance to make your business COVID-19 secure. Access the support you need at gov.uk/working safely. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
A half-price dream holiday, wouldn't want to miss that. A takeaway for free, wouldn't want to miss that. And 30 gigs data for just £10 a month on Smarty Mobile. You definitely don't want to miss that. Our Smarty SIM comes packed with 30 gigs of data and unlimited calls and texts for just £10 a month on a 1-month plan. That's why Smarty won Best Value SIM-only network in the U-Switch Mobile Awards 2020. Don't miss out. Search Smarty Mobile. Smarty. Simple, honest mobile. Smarty.co.uk.
Picture in your mind a stylish Audi with striking LED headlights, sporty alloy wheels, and some of our most advanced features, including a 10-inch digital cockpit and smart assistant systems like lane departure warning. Picture what that Audi looks like. Now think smaller. The Audi A1. It's not a small car, it's a small Audi. Visit audi.co.uk. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
4 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios, this is Bloomberg Daybreak for Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. Coming up this hour.
The reopen rally continues. U.S. futures gain as officials relax lockdowns.
Unrest takes hold in Hong Kong. Police fire pepper spray as protests in the city gather steam.
And sanctions targeting China. The White House considers penalties tied to Beijing's crackdown on Hong Kong.
New York Governor Cuomo meets with President Trump today, plus New Jersey's governor says outdoor graduations will be allowed in July. I'm Michael Barr. More ahead.
I'm John Stashower in sports. The NHL regular season is over. The Rangers and Islanders will be in the playoffs in July. Baseball made its economic proposal to the players.
That's all straight ahead on Bloomberg Daybreak. On Bloomberg 1130 New York, Bloomberg 99.1 Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 106.1 Boston, Bloomberg 960 San Francisco, Sirius XM 119, and around the world on BloombergRadio.com and via the Bloomberg Business app.
Good morning, I'm Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Bloomberg Daybreak brought to you by SEI. Crises and challenges highlight the power of partnership and character. Work for the common good, one community, SEI. Go to SEIC.com/banks.
U.S. futures are pointing to a third straight day of gains. It is 5:01 on Wall Street, and we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures up 28 points, Dow futures up 266, Nasdaq futures up 78. The DAX in Germany's up 1.25%, CAC in Paris up 1.5%, and the FTSE 100 up 1.2%. Nikkei 225 in Japan gained 0.7%, and the Hang Seng in Hong Kong was down 1/3%. 10-year Treasury up 4/30 seconds, yield 0.68%. The yield on the 2-year 0.17%. NYMEX crude oil is down 0.7% or 23 cents at $34.11 a barrel. COMEX gold is down 0.7% or $12.70 at $17.15.50 an ounce. The euro 1.0955 against the dollar. The yen 107.65. Nathan.
Right, Karen, the gains in U.S. futures we're seeing this morning come as the push to reopen continues and U.S. coronavirus cases continue to slow. For the very latest, we're joined live by Bloomberg's John Tucker. Good morning, John.
Nathan, good morning. Data show daily COVID-19 cases across the country rising at the slowest pace since March, just 1.1%. That's down from last week's 1.4% rate. In New York, hospitalizations and deaths reached the lowest level since the outbreak began. Meantime, the Trump administration is targeting an aggressive expansion of testing. It wants to hit 13 million tests this month. With 5 days left in May, it's currently 4.5 million short of that goal. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, John, thank you. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is turning his attention to reopening New York City.
We're going to turn the page on COVID-19, and we're going to start focusing on reopening and how we reopen and how smart we are in reopening.
As hospitalizations head lower, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is targeting the first half of June to restart business in the city, and that includes extra safety measures.
We're thinking about all the pieces. How do people come back to work? What kind of precautions need to be in place? How do we monitor it? How do we inspect it? How do we make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing?
De Blasio says the city has hired 1,700 contact tracers. A phase 1 reopening will likely include construction, manufacturing, and curbside pickup for retailers.
In California, at least 47 counties have begun reopening. Even barbershops and salons in those regions are getting back to work as Governor Gavin Newsom sees infections holding steady. Here with details is Ed Baxter in our Bloomberg 960 newsroom in San Francisco.
Governor Newsom says stabilization in case numbers is the key.
Ultimately, we want to see them go down, but we are holding steady in that positivity rate, and that's encouraging news.
California has 58 counties, and the governor says individual guidelines and testing are on the state's website, but that on a regional basis, there is movement being made back into manufacturing and retail. In San Francisco, I'm Ed Baxter, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, and thank you. Across the Pacific, unrest is brewing again in Hong Kong. Police fired pepper spray downtown as protesters hit the street to oppose China's increased control over the city. We get more from Bloomberg's Karen Lee in Hong Kong.
This is a return to a lot of the unrest that we saw last summer, and police have arrested at least 16 people so far today. And for a lot of people here, we're using today to get an idea of how big the protest movement could get as it seems to be resurging. Are we going to see things like we saw last summer on that scale, or is it going to be smaller, more scattered? So we're really looking at today as a bit of an indicator.
And demonstrations are being organized against China's plan to impose broad national security measures in Hong Kong. Hundreds have gathered to demonstrate in the city's central shopping hub. There's been a heavy police presence, and that's dispersed protesters in other areas across the city.
The White House is watching those protests closely. Now sources tell us it's considering sanctions on China tied to the crackdown on Hong Kong. For the very latest on that front, we turn to Bloomberg's Saleha Mohsen in Washington.
The Treasury Department could impose controls on transactions and freeze assets of Chinese officials, businesses, and financial institutions for implementing the new national security law that is curtailing the rights and freedoms of Hong Kong citizens. So far, we know that the Trump administration is considering the range of sanctions. They have not come to any decision whether to do that yet.
Meantime, the House is set to pass a different set of legislation sanctioning Chinese officials for human rights abuses against Muslims. The measure passed the Senate with unanimous consent. It also has broad support in the House. That vote is set for today.
Meantime, President Trump is also taking aim at Twitter. For the first time, the social network added a fact-check label to the president's tweets after he made unsubstantiated claims about mail-in voting. Twitter added a link reading, quote, "Get the facts about mail-in ballots." President Trump did not take the move lightly. He responded with a tweet saying, "Twitter is completely stifling free speech, and I, as president, will not allow it to happen."
Turning to Europe now, we get details today on plans to stem the economic fallout from the pandemic. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is scheduled to release a recovery fund proposal just over 3 hours from now. Here with details is Bloomberg's Maria Tadeo in Brussels.
We know already that von der Leyen hinted at trillions of euros, not billions. And they also will want to know the composition. Are we going to see grants? Are we going to see loans? And finally, if we do see the European Commission tap markets for maybe billions of euros, the market is going to want to know how is this going to be packaged? You know, how are these bonds going to hit the market?
France and Germany have been pushing for $500 million in aid. Austria, Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands have so far opposed the measure. S&P futures higher by 26 points. Dow futures up 255. NASDAQ futures a gain of 71 points. Straight ahead, the latest world and national news. This is Bloomberg. And at 5:07 on Wall Street, we bring in Michael Barr for a check of what else is going on around the world. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo meets with President Trump today to discuss infrastructure. Cuomo outlined several infrastructure projects he'd like his state to tackle in partnership with the federal government.
There is no better time to build than right now. You need to restart the economy. You need to create jobs. And you need to renew and repair this country's economy and its infrastructure. Now is the time to do it.
The projects include a new Penn station, a train link to LaGuardia Airport, rebuilding train tunnels under the Hudson, and expanding the 2nd Avenue subway. Long Island will officially start the first phase of reopening its economy today. It comes after a shutdown of non-essential businesses for more than 2 months due to the coronavirus pandemic. New York City is seeking authority to borrow possibly as much as $7 billion if necessary to make up for the revenue lost because of the pandemic. It calls for the city's Transitional Finance Authority to issue debt to make up for the projected loss through mid-2021. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy says he will unveil a plan today that will allow outdoor in-person graduations this summer with limits.
To the class of 2020, I am proud to say that you will have your opportunity to join with your classmates and families to celebrate your graduation.
Murphy says it will begin July 6th. A judge who suggested that a woman seeking a restraining order could close her legs to prevent a sexual assault was removed from the bench by the New Jersey Supreme Court. State Superior Court Judge John Russo was also permanently barred from presiding over a courtroom. Joe Biden says President Trump is a fool who is stoking deaths for suggesting that wearing a mask in public to combat the spread of COVID-19 is anything other than a sign of leadership. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee also talked about President Trump attacking former President Barack Obama.
I was talking to a friend of mine today, a leader in the African-American community, and I said, why is he going after Barack? He said, because it stirs up his base. Barack's a black man. I don't know what that's the reason, but all of a sudden, Barack, most popular guy out there, and he's attacking Barack. What's that all about?
Biden spoke to CNN. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
Thank you, Michael. Coming up to 5:10 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg Sports Update. Good morning, John Stashauer.
Good morning, Nathan. The NHL regular season is now officially over. Let the Stanley Cup playoffs begin. Commissioner Gary Bettman says it's what everyone wants.
Our fans are telling us in overwhelming numbers that they want us to complete the season, if at all possible. And our players and our teams are clear that they want to play and bring the season to its rightful conclusion.
Bettman announced a 2014 playoff field. The Rangers and Islanders will be part of it, not the Devils. Rangers, who would not have made it if they hadn't expanded the field, will face Carolina in the first round. Not known yet if that'll be a best of 5 or 7. The Islanders will face Florida, a couple of teams who were slumping back when there was still hockey. Where the games will be played, not yet known. There will be 2 hub cities, one for each conference. Vegas seen as the heavy favorite to land the West games, not known about the East. Training camp will begin no later than July 1st, so expect games sometime mid to late July, pending they get final clearance that this can be done safely. As for baseball, the reaction by the union to the economic proposal made to them by the owners, not good. One player using the word disgusting. The Mets' Marcus Stroman said this season doesn't look promising. Owners proposing a sliding scale where the higher-paid players will see their salaries cut the most. It could lead to division among players. 2 sides need to get this done if they're going to be able to play ball. The Jets just got Joe Flacco to be their backup quarterback, but he says coming off surgery, he won't be ready to play in Week 1. John Stashauer, Bloomberg Sports. Nathan?
And John, another MLB team is cutting jobs due to the pandemic. The Oakland A's are placing scouts and other front office employees on furlough and suspending pay for minor leaguers and cutting salaries for executives. The A's will continue to pay health care, 401k, and pension costs for employees. S&P futures higher by 27 points. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's BABBEL.com.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, makes innovation happen.
NJIT faculty mentored Christoph Camacho when he was a student, helping him co-found a startup and patent a device that uses drone technology for reforestation and to collect valuable data for land management.
I founded Paratrees back in 2016, taking what I learned from my research at NJIT and migrating it to a startup. Our technology is to really enhance land management operations, so we work very closely with land management companies. So we have a drone that performs precision reforestation, and we do storm damage assessment, having access to drones that can collect data so it's much faster. And what is more important, we help them drive management decisions. NJIT has been there every step of the way, going full force with my company.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
And picture this. Small businesses on eBay are working to
get things moving.
Sending spices to novice cooks.
Hairbands to kids.
Desks for home offices.
Delivering the goods.
Shipping footballs.
Fruit trees.
And dishwashers.
Thousands of small businesses on eBay are helping to keep the nation going. They are individually brilliant, stronger as one. Buy, sell, eBay.
TfL has a plan to help London reopen. You can do your bit by working from home if you can. Avoid public transport and walk or cycle wherever possible. We're increasing the number of buses, trains and tubes we run, but they may still be busy during peak hours. If you must use public transport, avoid early mornings between 5:45 and 8:15 and evenings between 4 and 5:30. This will help those who must travel at this time to do so safely. Search TfL Restart Plan. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Max is dreaming of riding a giant chameleon whilst fighting a clan of ninjas. But in reality, he's helping fight COVID-19 in his sleep. Like thousands of others, he's joined the Dream Team. By using the Dream Lab app, they're helping scientists speed up the search for potential treatments.
I'll fight you.
You go, Max. Search Vodafone Dream Lab and join the Dream Team tonight.
Dreamlab app is owned by Vodafone Foundation, an independent charity. Registration number 1089625. Full terms at vodafone.co.uk/dreamlab.
We're all in uncharted territory looking for ways to support our communities. At Dell Technologies, we're making sure small businesses have the right tech solutions. Dell Technologies advisors are here for you, helping small businesses stay connected and productive while working remotely with Windows 10 Pro and Microsoft Teams. We're standing by you every step of the way. Call us today on 0800 169 1745. That's 0800 169 1745.
Stroud Watts.
Well, Hong Kong is bracing for what could be its biggest day of protest in months, with pro-democracy groups calling for a general strike against China's plans to impose a national security law. Opponents fear it will curtail essential freedoms, and the US says it casts doubt on Hong Kong's future. We're joined now by the former Hong Kong Justice Secretary, Elsie Leung. So isn't there a real concern that Hong Kong's institutions and Hong Kong people and foreign investors are looking to be undermined if this goes through?
No, I don't think so, because in the first paragraph, first article of the draft decision, which is before the National People's Congress, it is stated that the Central People's Government will unswervingly, fully and faithfully implement the principles of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people governing Hong Kong, and a high degree of autonomy. Now, which country does not have laws concerning protection for the protection of national security? I think in the States they have, in Britain they have, and it is natural that there should be a national security law. Now, in Hong Kong, the rights and the freedom of citizens are well protected by the basic law, as well as our Hong Kong Bill of Rights Ordinance.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Stocks advancing in Europe along with U.S. stock index futures as investors look past simmering tensions between Washington and Beijing and focus on progress in relaxing lockdowns. Oil is slipping, treasuries and the dollar edging higher. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures are up 29 points, Dow futures up 285, NASDAQ futures up 74. The DAX in Germany is up 1.5%. 10-year treasury up 230 seconds, yield 0.69%. The yield on the 2-year 0.17%. NYMEX crude oil is down 0.8% or 28 cents at $34.07 a barrel. COMEX gold is down 0.8% or $13.30 at $17.14.90 an ounce. The euro 1.0949 against the dollar. British pound 1.2287, and the yen is at 107.68. And the S&P 500 is up 34% from its March 23rd lows. Today, the Federal Reserve releases its beige book at 2 o'clock Wall Street time, and that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. U.S. coronavirus cases continue to slow. Bloomberg's John Tucker in New York has more in this live report.
And Michael, coronavirus cases in the U.S. increased 1.1% as compared to the same time yesterday. That's the slowest daily increase since March. Deaths in the U.S. now stand at over 98,000. New York saw its fewest new hospitalizations and fatalities since the outbreak began. There were 73 deaths. That's down from a high last month of nearly 800. And the Trump administration has released coronavirus testing targets for May, an aggressive expansion that would have some states doubling and quadrupling the number they had done through late April. John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak.
Thank you, John. President Donald Trump plans to travel to Florida to watch today's launch of SpaceX's manned test mission to the International Space Station. The launch will mark the first time NASA astronauts have blasted off from U.S. soil since the end of the Space Shuttle program in 2011. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 27 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
Okay, Michael, thanks. We're coming up to 5:20 on Wall Street, live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studios. This is Bloomberg Daybreak, and Matt Maley's with us now, Chief Market Strategist at Miller Tabak. Well, it seems like it's all systems go for a rally on Wall Street with optimism over economies reopening. Do you see that fueling a breakout of the range that equities have been in the last few weeks, Matt?
Well, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, yesterday we saw that break of the 3,000 level on the S&P and the 200-day moving average that everybody has been talking about. And, of course, by the end of the day, it came back down. And so if we get another one of those today, when the futures are looking like they're going to break it again, if we come back down, that failure might cause the market to pull back a little bit. And the reason why I highlight that, at least over the near term, is this whole thing with what's going on in Hong Kong. That's is not going to get any better, doesn't seem to me anyway, anytime soon. And, it probably gives the market a good excuse to take a breather over the near term, especially since, we have so much uncertainty surrounding any kind of vaccine or how quickly the economy is going to bounce back.
Yeah, a couple of uncertainties there between the vaccine and China tensions. You say you don't see that getting any better anytime soon. What makes you say that?
Well, I mean, it just seems to me fairly obvious that China definitely wants to crack down and take full control of Hong Kong. They stepped away late last year and early this year. Now they're coming back in. I hate to say it, but they're using this coronavirus, this global healthcare issue, to hopefully deflect attention while they're doing it. But it became obvious yesterday by what Congress did, or at least started to do, that we're not going to sit idly by and watch that take place. So as the tensions grow with China, I think that eventually is going to have an impact on the stock market.
But it does seem as though the markets, other than late yesterday, weren't giving it much attention in terms of the tensions with China. What do you think is going to bring that to the fore for markets?
Well, we'll have to see what happens as these tensions rise. But it's hard to know exactly what will happen because we saw the same thing with the coronavirus back in January and in first half of February, where we completely ignored what was going on with the coronavirus and possible shut down the economy. And then all of a sudden, it didn't matter until it did. And so all of a sudden it did. So it's hard to pinpoint an exact catalyst. And again, I'm not saying that this Hong Kong situation will create a third 30% decline in the market, but it certainly could cause a pullback, especially given how far we've rallied over a very short period of time.
Despite all these headwinds, Matt, we did hear from Jamie Dimon yesterday saying he sees fairly good odds that we could have a fast recovery in the third quarter. Is that something you're looking at as well?
Well, it's funny. There's two things that I'm watching very closely that are interesting. And on the one hand, I really like them, and there's one thing that concerns me. But number one is the housing stocks. We saw the new home sales yesterday came in much. They were almost flat, but much better than expected. And we sort of read on Bloomberg about what's going on in New York with all the young families moving out of the city and bringing their families out of the city. Anecdotally, we're definitely seeing that here in Boston as well. So if the housing sector, which is incredibly important to the economy, holds up well, that's going to be positive. The other thing I'd note, which is kind of interesting, is that the Dow Jones Wilshire Trucking Index, a sub-index of the transportation index, hit a new all-time high yesterday. Can you believe that? I mean, the one thing that concerns me is that is our economy really going to bounce back that fast that we're getting new all-time highs for the truckers? So I think I'm a little worried that that's getting ahead of itself. But at the same time, we have two economically sensitive indexes that are acting very, very well. So even though I've been very cautious about the economy, it's something that we have to watch because it could break out. The one thing I'd feel a little bit better about the whole thing, though, is if Jamie Dimon announced he was buying back some of this J.P. Morgan stock that, like he did in 2016, that kind of confirmed his real stance on things.
So in our last 30 seconds here, where do you see equities going into the second half?
Well, I think right now on a near-term basis, the market's getting ahead of itself. We break above 3,000, that gives us good momentum. But I just think that the unemployment rate is going to settle at a level, even though it's going to be much lower than where it is right now. It's going to still be around 10%. I think it's hard for the economy to grow to a degree that will help the stock market rally a lot more than it already has. So I think we look for a little bit of pullback right now.
Always good getting your take, Matt. Good talking with you this morning. Matt Maley, Chief Market Strategist at Miller Tabak. And looking at the futures contracts this morning, the rally continues. S&P futures up 33 points. Dow futures up 325. NASDAQ futures up 80 points. Stay with us. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak. Good morning.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Union workers at Boeing are bracing for bad news as soon as this week. Job cuts that could see 15 to 20% of white-collar engineering jobs in Washington State and Southern California disappear. That's according to the Puget Sound Business Journal. About 1,300 union workers have already applied to take voluntary buyouts. But the CEO of one of the nation's biggest banks thinks there are pretty good odds of a fast economic rebound from the pandemic. So says J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, thanks to government help and the strength of the American consumer. The head of the European Central Bank is not so optimistic. Christine Lagarde thinks the European economy will shrink somewhere between 8 and 12%. Wall Street, however, is going with optimism, focusing on progress and relaxing lockdowns. So stock futures are higher again today. S&P futures up 27, NASDAQ futures 71, Dow futures up another 251 points. Joan Doniger, Bloomberg Radio.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Imagine. Picture this. Small businesses on eBay are working to
get things moving.
Sending spices to novice cooks.
Hairbands to kids.
Desks for home offices.
Delivering the goods.
Shipping footballs.
Fruit trees.
And dishwashers.
Thousands of small businesses on eBay are helping to keep the nation going. They are individually brilliant, stronger as one. Buy, sell, eBay.
TfL has a plan to help London reopen. You can do your bit by working from home if you can. Avoid public transport and walk or cycle wherever possible. We're increasing the number of buses, trains and tubes we run, but they may still be busy during peak hours. If you must use public transport, avoid early mornings between 5:45 and 8:15 and evenings between 4 and 5:30. This will help those who must travel at this time to do so safely. Search TfL Restart Plan. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
We're all in uncharted territory looking for ways to support our communities. At Dell Technologies, we're making sure small businesses have the right tech solutions. Dell Technologies advisors are here for you, helping small businesses stay connected and productive while working remotely with Windows 10 Pro and Microsoft Teams. We're standing by you every step of the way. Call us today on 0800 169 1745. That's 0800 169 1745.
Let's be honest, we all spend too much of our day on social media. But at least you can spend your endless scroll time to discover new things on TuneIn. Follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to always be in the know about the best new stuff streaming in the app. From breaking news stories and live sporting events.
Yeah, but it's unique times. I think there's unique circumstances, and we're trying to
standout stations and podcasts. Stay in touch with TuneIn.
Get your MLB fix with these great podcasts on TuneIn. Fill your seventh inning stretch with the Ringer MLB Show.
I just can't get over it. It's like, oh, well, Jeter Downs. Didn't realize he was a top. Like, my dad is drinking the Kool-Aid on this. He's like, of course. Mookie was going to leave. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't know that.
Slide into second with the Starting Nine podcast.
Nolan Arenado slides right into the top spot for a favorite baseball player active in the league right now. It is a pleasure to